Okay, so today we're diving deep into Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki and Sharon Lechter. And, this one really stood out to me from the excerpts you sent over, especially if we're thinking about, how to make smarter financial decisions.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are drawn to this book because they're looking for those aha moments that can really change how they view money, whether they're prepping for a big business meeting, trying to brush up on their financial literacy, or just, curious about different perspectives.
Absolutely. And what really struck me right off the bat was this whole idea of, Kiyosaki having these two father figures in his life with totally opposite views on money and success.
Right. You have the poor dad who was highly educated, superintendent of education, but struggled financially. And then you have the rich dad who didn't even finish high school, but ended up building a huge fortune.
Yeah, it's like a real life experiment,
Yeah.
seeing how these two contrasting approaches to money play out and the impact they have on Kiyosaki's life.
And it's not just about money either. It's about their whole philosophy on life work education. And it all starts right from the beginning of the book with this powerful idea that we can control our past and present.
That's so true. It really makes you stop and think about how, our current financial situation is a direct result of the choices we've made and the beliefs we hold.
Exactly. And it sets the stage for the whole book, showing how our mindset and actions shape our financial reality.
So to really understand why this book resonated with so many people, I think we need to look at the author's own experiences.
Yeah, both Kiyosaki and Lechter, they achieved what many would consider traditional success. Lechter was a CPA, a certified public accountant, and Kiyosaki had a business degree.
But they both realized that, financial security wasn't a given, even with those credentials.
Especially with the decline of traditional pensions, more and more people are responsible for managing their own finances. And that's where financial literacy becomes so crucial.
Right. It's not enough to just get a good job and rely on someone else to take care of your financial future.
And what's really fascinating is Lechter's perspective as a CPA. She was already steeped in accounting and finance, but she found Kiyosaki's way of explaining these concepts incredibly engaging and accessible.
That's interesting. I mean, you'd think a CPA would be immune to that kind of, financial self-help stuff, but it really shows the power of their message.
Exactly. It's about making financial knowledge understandable and relevant for everyone, regardless of their background.
And then you have Kiyosaki's son, who, observing all of this, growing up with these contrasting perspectives on money.
He's looking around and seeing people like Bill Gates, Michael Jordan, Madonna, achieving massive success outside of the traditional go to school, get a good job model.
And he's noticing how even professions like doctors were facing challenges with declining salaries and uncertainty around Social Security. It's like he's seeing the cracks in the old system.
And that's what leads to this whole concept of the rat race, working harder and harder, but never really getting ahead financially.
It's like running on a treadmill.
Yeah.
You're putting in the effort, but you're not actually going anywhere.
Exactly. And the cash flow game they created really brings this concept to life. It's not just about playing a game, it's about understanding different financial strategies and how to break free from that cycle of working just to make ends meet.
So at the heart of their argument is this idea that traditional education often fails to equip us with the practical financial knowledge we need to truly succeed in life.
They're not saying education isn't important, but they're highlighting this huge gap between academic achievement and financial literacy.
Right, and that lack of financial understanding can lead to struggles even for people with good incomes.
Precisely, and that's why they wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad, to share these often counterintuitive lessons that Kiyosaki learned from his financially savvy rich dad, so that others can develop that essential financial intelligence.
So let's dive into the meat of the book, the contrasting beliefs of the rich dad and the poor dad. This is where things get really interesting.
Absolutely. So when it came to education, both dads valued it, but for different reasons.
The poor dad, being an educator himself, he really believed in academic excellence and getting those professional qualifications.
Right. He saw that as the key to a secure job and a stable career.
But the rich dad had a completely different perspective. He emphasized financial literacy.
He believed that understanding how money works, how to make it grow, how to create assets was far more crucial than just getting a good job.
It's like he was teaching Kiyosaki how to be an entrepreneur, how to build wealth, not just how to be an employee.
And their views on money itself were almost polar opposites.
The poor dad would say things like, the love of money is the root of all evil, or money doesn't matter.
He also had this habit of saying, I can't afford it, which drove the rich dad crazy.
Because the rich dad saw that as a sign of mental laziness, not even trying to find a solution.
Exactly. The rich dad believed that money is power, and he encouraged actively training your mind to identify opportunities and figure out how to generate income.
He saw "I can't afford it" not as a fact, but as a challenge to think creatively and find a way to make it happen.
And this difference in mindset also extended to their views on financial self-reliance.
The rich dad was all about taking responsibility for your own financial well-being. He didn't believe in relying on others or expecting handouts.
Right. He was critical of what he saw as an entitlement mentality, whereas the poor dad seemed to have more faith in the system. Government benefits, pensions, a secure job for life.
And their views on dealing with financial setbacks were also very telling.
The rich dad had this great quote: "There is a difference between being poor and being broke. Broke is temporary and poor is eternal."
It really highlights the importance of resilience and understanding that financial difficulties don't define you.
And the book really argues that the poor dad's financial struggles weren't just because of his income level, but because of his mindset and his actions.
It's about how you think about money and the choices you make as a result.
So this whole contrast in philosophies then sets the stage for some of the early lessons Kiyosaki learns from both dads.
Like the toothpaste tube business. Remember that one?
Oh, yeah. I love that story. These young boys trying to melt down lead toothpaste tubes to make nickels.
And of course, it ended with a lesson about counterfeiting. But the real takeaway from the rich dad was about resilience.
When they got discouraged, he told them, "You're only poor if you give up." It was about learning from mistakes and not giving up on your dreams.
And then there's that classic story of Kiyosaki working for the rich dad for 10 cents an hour.
He felt like he was being exploited at first, but the rich dad was teaching him a valuable lesson about the real world and the importance of learning outside of the classroom.
And here's a key point for everyone listening. Both dads wanted Kiyosaki to learn and succeed, but their definitions of success were completely different.
The poor dad valued academic achievements and a stable career, while the rich dad focused on financial education and an entrepreneurial mindset.
Two different paths, two different sets of values.
And the rich dad also highlighted the role of fear in holding people back financially.
He observed that fear of not having enough money keeps people trapped in the cycle of working for a paycheck instead of learning how to make money work for them.
It's about breaking free from that fear and developing the confidence to take control of your financial destiny.
And even in those early lessons, the rich dad introduced Kiyosaki to the often overlooked concept of taxes.
He showed him how taxes impact your income at every stage: when you earn it, when you spend it, when you save it, even when you die.
It's something that most people don't really think about, but it's a crucial part of understanding how wealth is built and preserved.
And this leads us to one of the most pivotal concepts in the book: the difference between assets and liabilities.
This is where the rubber really meets the road.
The core principle is simple. Rich people acquire assets. The poor and middle class acquire liabilities, but they think they are assets.
Okay, so let's break that down for everyone. What exactly is an asset, according to the rich dad?
An asset is something that puts money in your pocket, plain and simple.
And a liability is something that takes money out of your pocket.
It's like a light switch.
Yeah.
Asset money on, liability money off.
And Kiyosaki argues that a major reason why people struggle financially is because they don't understand this fundamental difference.
They buy things they think are assets, like a big house or a fancy car, but those things are actually liabilities if they're draining your cash flow.
So it's not just about what you own, it's about how what you own impacts your finances.
And he emphasizes the importance of understanding numbers, being financially literate.
He compares financial statements to words in a book. If you can't read the numbers, you're essentially illiterate in the language of money.
And to really drive this point home, he uses the concept of cash flow patterns.
Imagine a visual representation for an asset. The money flows in rent from a property, dividends from stocks.
But for a liability, the money flows out. Mortgage payments, car loans, credit card bills.
Understanding and focusing on building assets that generate positive cash flow is key to the rich dad philosophy. Now, the book also talks about this common scenario where the financial dream can turn into a financial nightmare.
Right, it's that classic story of the young couple whose income starts to increase.
They get the bigger house, the new cars, the nice furniture. They're living the good life.
But their expenses are also skyrocketing. They're accumulating more and more debt, mortgage debt, car loans, credit card debt.
And they find themselves stuck in the rat race, working harder and harder just to keep up with their lifestyle.
And when they start a family, the pressure just intensifies.
And instead of examining their spending habits and addressing their lack of financial knowledge, they often just try to earn more money.
Which only perpetuates the cycle.
And Kiyosaki makes an interesting point here about the role of traditional education.
He argues that schools primarily prepare us to be employees, to work for someone else's business.
Instead of teaching us how to be entrepreneurs, how to build our own assets.
It's like the system is designed to keep us in the rat race.
Now, this next part of the book is where things get a little controversial, the perspective on a home as an asset.
Kiyosaki really challenges the conventional wisdom here.
He argues that for most people, their home is actually a liability, not an asset.
Because it doesn't put money in your pocket. It takes money out to ass. Mortgage payments, property taxes, insurance maintenance.
And even when the mortgage is paid off, you still have those ongoing expenses.
He also talks about the opportunity cost. All that money tied up in a house could be invested in assets that generate income.
The rich dad believed in acquiring income-generating assets first and then using that income to buy your dream house if you want one.
And the book provides a really clear comparison between the financial statements of the educated dad and the rich dad.
The educated dad had income and expenses roughly equal, with liabilities often exceeding assets.
While the rich dad had income from his assets, exceeding his expenses, allowing him to continuously grow his asset column.
It's a fundamental difference in how the wealthy build and maintain their financial advantage. So this leads us to the concept of minding your own business.
And this doesn't necessarily mean starting a company.
Kiyosaki is talking about building and growing your asset column.
It's about focusing on your own financial well-being, separate from your job.
He says most people focus on their income statement trying to get raises or promotions,
while the wealthy focus on building their asset column, creating income-generating assets.
He also points out that net worth can be misleading.
You might have a high net worth on paper, but when you sell those assets, you often face taxes on the gains.
So the real measure of wealth is your cash flow and the value your assets generate.
The takeaway here is to keep your job, but start minding your own business by acquiring real income-generating assets.
Things like stocks that pay dividends, rental properties, intellectual property.
Things that put money in your pocket, not liabilities that drain your cash flow.
Now, the book also delves into the power of corporations.
And this might sound intimidating, but it's really about understanding the legal and financial advantages that corporations can offer.
Kiyosaki explains that corporations are separate legal entities that can provide benefits, especially when it comes to taxes.
For example, as employees, we earn income, spend it, and then pay taxes on what's left.
But a corporation can earn income, pay for legitimate business expenses, and then pay taxes on the remaining profit.
Potentially leading to significant tax savings.
And beyond taxes, corporations and trusts can also protect your assets from lawsuits and creditors.
It's about building a legal and financial structure that safeguards your wealth.
So as you grow your asset column, it's worth considering incorporating your business or setting up a trust.
Now, of course, the path to financial freedom isn't always easy.
There are obstacles along the way.
The book identifies 5 key hurdles that can hold people back.
First is the fear of losing money.
It's a natural fear, but it can paralyze you and prevent you from taking risks.
Kiyosaki points out that everyone experiences losses at some point.
The key is to learn from your mistakes and keep moving forward.
Playing it too safe can actually prevent you from achieving your financial goals. The second obstacle is cynicism.
A negative attitude can blind you to opportunities.
It's important to analyze situations and be open to new ideas.
Don't let cynicism prevent you from exploring different perspectives.
The third hurdle is laziness.
Often disguised as being too busy.
It's about procrastination and lack of motivation.
Kiyosaki suggests that a healthy dose of greed, the desire for a better life, can actually be a powerful motivator.
It's about channeling that desire into positive action. The fourth obstacle is bad habits.
Like paying everyone else first and yourself last.
Kiyosaki emphasizes the importance of paying yourself first, even if it's a small amount.
It's about developing the discipline to prioritize your financial well-being.
And the final hurdle is arrogance.
The belief that you already know everything.
It's important to stay humble and be open to learning new things.
Especially in the world of finance, which is constantly changing.
So how do we overcome these obstacles and start developing our financial intelligence?
Well, the book outlines 10 steps to awaken your financial genius.
Step 1 is a reason greater than reality.
It's about finding your why, having a strong emotional reason for wanting to achieve financial freedom,
What do you want to achieve? What do you want to avoid?
having a powerful emotional driver, will help you stay focused and overcome challenges.
Step 2 is the power of choice.
It's about prioritizing financial education.
Invest in your knowledge before you invest your money.
Read books, attend seminars, learn from experts.
Your mind is your most valuable asset. Step 3 is choose friends carefully.
Surround yourself with people who have a positive and proactive approach to money.
You'll learn from their experiences and be inspired by their success.
It's about creating a supportive network that encourages your financial growth.
Step 4 is master a formula and then learn a new one.
It's about continuous learning, always seeking out new and better ways to build wealth.
Don't be afraid to experiment and try new things.
The financial world is constantly evolving, so you need to stay ahead of the curve.
Step 5 is pay yourself first.
Make saving and investing a non-negotiable part of your budget.
Even if it's a small amount at first, the habit of paying yourself first is crucial.
It's about prioritizing your financial future.
Step 6 is pay your brokers well.
This might seem counterintuitive, but it's about recognizing the value of expert advice.
Find knowledgeable and trustworthy financial professionals who can help you make smart decisions.
They can save you time, money, and potentially avoid costly mistakes.
Step 7 is be an Indian giver.
This is a metaphor for structuring your investments so that you recover your initial capital quickly.
It's about being strategic with your investments.
Step 8 is use assets to buy luxuries.
Instead of using your earned income to buy expensive things,
Let your assets generate the cash flow to pay for those luxuries.
it's about building a system where your money works for you.
Step 9 is the need for heroes. Find financial role models, people whose success you admire.
Learn from their stories and strategies.
Their example can inspire and motivate you on your own journey.
And finally, step 10 is teach and you shall receive.
Share your financial knowledge with others,
It reinforces your own understanding and helps you build connections.
and you never know what opportunities might arise from teaching and mentoring others.
So beyond these 10 steps, the book also provides some really practical strategies for getting started.
Like actively seeking out financial education.
Read books, listen to podcasts, attend seminars.
It's about immersing yourself in the world of finance.
It also emphasizes the importance of finding deals.
Look for undervalued opportunities in real estate stocks or other markets.
Be willing to look where others aren't.
And early in your career, prioritize working for information and skills, not just for a paycheck.
Learn as much as you can about your chosen field.
And understand the difference between good debt and bad debt.
Good debt can help you leverage your investments, while bad debt just drains your resources.
And most importantly, think big.
Don't limit your financial aspirations.
Learn how to analyze deals and understand market trends.
And develop the confidence to take calculated risks. The book wraps up with an example of how to use financial intelligence to overcome common challenges like affording education and planning for retirement.
They use a scenario involving creative real estate investment strategies and tax-deferred exchanges.
It's a powerful illustration of how the principles in the book can be applied to real-life situations.
So as we come to the end of our deep dive into Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the key takeaway is this financial intelligence is the key to escaping the rat race and achieving financial freedom.
It's about understanding assets, liabilities, cash flow, and adopting the mindset of the wealthy.
It's not just about how much money you make, it's about how you manage it and make it work for you.
Remember, your mind is your greatest asset.
Invest in your financial education and never stop learning.
Be mindful of your financial habits and always be open to new ideas.
And consider different perspectives on money and wealth building.
So here's a final thought for you to ponder. Kiyosaki suggests that money is just an idea.
What new financial ideas will you explore? How will you challenge traditional thinking to create your own path to financial well-being?
That's the real deep dive that starts now with you.
Take what you've learned and start putting it into practice.
The journey to financial freedom begins with a single step.
And the knowledge you gain along the way will be invaluable.
So keep learning, keep growing, and keep striving for your financial goals.
And remember, the power of financial intelligence is within your reach.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
We hope you found it insightful and empowering.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep pushing the boundaries of your financial knowledge.
Because financial freedom is a journey, not a destination.
And the more you learn, the more empowered you become.
So keep that momentum going and keep striving for your financial dreams.
We'll see you on the next deep dive.
Bye for now.
Take care.